Hi guys, here we go. This is the new and improved Dire Flail. You can see with this one, it's got some differences. First off, this shaft is longer, okay? This works out well because when we have nothing rigid here, when I start doing loops, it gets a lot of slop in it. It's kind of like a drunk driver doing these wide turns. And if you don't want to hit yourself, a good way to avoid that is by lengthening out the shaft a little bit and shortening these to reduce that amount of slop. You'll also notice I've marked on here some tape. These sections are the danger zone. I never want to hold it here because if this line is taut, it can hit my hand. So I give myself a little safety buffer there, hold on this section, and now it is literally impossible for me to hit myself. You do want to check up on this every now and then, especially as you're breaking it in, because this line tends to stretch out, so you got to keep shortening it and keep an eye on your hands. The danger here is that this will slowly creep out, and as you're working, your hand will slowly creep up. So it's good to mark it so that you can do a quick visual and make sure you're safe. You'll notice on this other hand, I'm holding it inside of the danger zone. So again, it is technically possible for me to hit my hand here. And I can also hit my arm out here. But if I hit my arm, it's kind of like, let's say you have a chicken just running around and you try chopping at its head with an axe. It's going to be pretty hard to go through. But you put its neck up against a chopping block, in this case, this shaft, and then you're just going to chop right through your fingers. So you want to make sure that you're out from there. And if you watch Season 2, Episode 8 of Batwoman, that's where the Dire Flail character is, you'll notice she's wearing a very protective glove on her lower hand, which makes sense. You'll also notice in the film, I think this is purely for cinematography, the choreography, is that basically the lower flail section is useless. It's so short that it wouldn't do anything. But you'll notice, I mean, it's like a flanged style flail, which is great because it's, first off, it's naturally larger, which looks good on film. And then also because for this section, you still need to have some weight in it, or it's going to be completely unbelievable. But you need to have space for padding, because how compacted this is, it's going to be extremely dangerous. So I think they just had this end padded, and we're using this, and it's moving fast so you can't really tell. And then you have like these close-up shots where she's holding this and you can really see, oh yeah, that's like this flanged style metal flail, looks pretty dangerous. But this is pointless in real life. I think this is the weapon it was supposed to be. That design change was purely for choreography. Anyways, so here we have it. Moving like this, you are relatively safe. But again, if this is slack, there's a risk of it hitting your hand. So, without further ado, let's see this against a real target and see why it's actually super useful having this extra flail. Now, first off, I can slack up like this and hold it. I mentioned this in the previous video. I'm basically using it just as a regular two-handed flail here. Okay, and I can do everything that I would normally. The difference is that at any moment in a fluid movement, I can release this and strike. And it works especially well as a follow-up after this hit. Because this rebounds. All this energy bouncing back, normally with the flail, I would have to be controlling this purely with my body. But by having this extra mass at the end, it can kind of go into there. This acts as centripetal force to then accelerate this end around. So you get this effect where it's actually easier to accelerate this one. Normally, I have to use kind of half of my strength to pull it inward and half of it to push. So it's both pulling and pushing at the same time. If I've got extra mass on the end, then I can only focus on pushing, and I leave the pulling to what's already been generated in the weapon. So yeah, definitely quite strong, quite effective on that. Other consideration, I mentioned holding it like this. Okay, people were saying, oh yeah, but you couldn't hold this. Okay, first off, if I just hold on the cord and butt my hand up against this, this could even have spikes on it, and I would still be able to use this. Okay, and this is a really strong way to use it. So I still have this option. Doesn't matter what the flange, whether it's flanged or whether it's round or whether it's a rod. Either way, I can still use this to hold on to. Okay, now we got this. Let's see it in action a little bit to just see that there's, you know, it works. Oh, and that's the other thing, is saying that it can't touch your body. Okay, this can still touch my body if it is not loaded with energy. If it's not traveling really fast, okay, these are touching my body. Now, of course, if I had really long strikes, or if I had really long spikes on the end, yeah, then I'm not going to do it unless I was wearing metal armor. But you wouldn't need spikes that long unless you're fighting someone with heavy armor as well. So why would you be using it if you're not wearing that armor to begin with? I think it's pretty much pointless, and this is really all you would ever need in a real life scenario. And that brings us again to why we didn't really see these very much. And that's just because, as useful as it is, having this extra section, it's better to have a shield, right? So generally speaking, if I could choose between having this versatility of being able to use both hands on this and all that, right, or having a shield and having just a one-handed flail, it doesn't really make any sense to be using this. And if I wanted to use a two-handed flail, it would probably be longer enough that it doesn't really make sense using this type of a design anyways. And if there's not really the need for that, then why are people going to develop the skill to use it? So, final thoughts. I think it's decent. I can, let's say, go on here, hit high with my closer one, hit low with my longer one. Okay, works great. And let me just show this here. Okay, in case people aren't quite convinced, you may not be able to see just how much force is in this. It looks like I'm not going that hard, but I'm telling you, these things really hit hard. So, let's see if there's a rock there. I mean, this will be easy. Okay. I mean, this will crush really simple. I mean, it just goes through it like it's absolutely nothing. Let me try getting an actual rock. So this is a real rock. This isn't just the concrete, which I hope I don't break my stuff here. Okay, let's try this. Yeah, that broke it. So I mean, imagine if that were your skull. Definitely dangerous. Watch out.